In Beijing.
And I'm Wang Mengmang. In about 1 hour, China's top political advisory body, the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or CPPCC, will begin its annual session. Chairman Wang Huning will deliver a work report.
That's right. The opening session signals the beginning of the most important annual event on China's political calendar, the two sessions. The CPPCC will meet for 7 days until March the 11th.
And the CPPCC has more than 2,000 members from different political parties, social groups, sectors, and organizations. Its most important functions are political consultation, democratic supervision, and deliberation of state affairs.
And CGTN will also bring you live coverage of the Members' Corridor, which gives national political advisors a chance to address members of the public. And for now, CGTN reporter Chen Yiling is live with us at the Great Hall of the People. Let's get an update from her there. Yiling, great to see you. What can we expect from today's Members' Corridor?
Right, Zhongshui and Mangmang. So in less than 15 minutes, the first CPPCC Members Corridor of this year will take place right behind me. Now you can probably already see the microphones are in place and the media are in position. We've noted that there are media not only from China, but also international. So the atmosphere is focused, but expect it to become lively once the members come onto the stage. Usually there are around 8 to 10 members that will take questions directly from the press. And it's worth noting, their topic used to center on issues that matters most to the people's lives, from science and technology, self-reliance to environmental protection. And one of the hot topics, of course, is the 15th five-year plan. And also it's worth noting these CPCC members come from diverse sectors. They not only, some are economics, some are engineers, some are taikonaut, some are farmers. So we are here expecting a wide range of perspectives. But I also want to highlight this format itself because, there are over 2,000 CPCC members attending the annual session. So rather than you see reporters chasing individual interviews, now you can also see they come forward to meet directly with the press and the public. This actually reflects, is the window to see the openness and transparency of China's democracy with this very open setting for engagement. But I also want to highlight that this is also where you will expect these members to share more personal, first-hand stories. They are also more about, you can expect them to share a lot about how they are handling China's involvement, how they are feeling their duties, and how problems are being tackled. And that is actually very in line with this practical nature of the two sessions. Each year brings new faces and fresh voices, but what remains constant is always a focus on what matters most to the people in the country. Meanwhile, after this Members Corridor, we are also going to see the open of the fourth session of the 14th National Committee of the CPPCC, where we will also expect Wang Huning, chairman of the CPPCC National Committee, to deliver a work report. Back to you.
Right, Yiling, as you mentioned just now, this Members Corridor will be followed by the opening plenum. What do we know about the items being arranged for that session?
There are a lot of items will be arranged. There will be some topics related to what matters a lot to people most. We're also expecting the chairman of the CPPCC National Committee's work report, which will review the whole commitment and the things what we do achieve about the past whole year. And we're also going to see a lot of topics we've interviewed right here. It's about the 15th five-year plan, of course, how China's good dealing with the high quality development. Especially this year, we're also going to see more high-level opening up initiatives. Many people are looking forward to this. Back to you.
All right, Yiling, we appreciate that update you from the Great Hall of the People. Thank you so much. And here's what you need to know about the CPPCC. The Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference is the most powerful political advisory body here in China. The CPPCC is mainly responsible for political consultations, democratic supervision, and the deliberation and administration of state affairs. It discusses major principles and policies proposed by the central and local governments and offers proposals on matters concerning political, economic, cultural, and social affairs. It also supervises the implementation of the Constitution and also the country's rules and regulations, and conducts research into social conditions and public sentiment.
Well, the CPPCC National Committee has briefed the media in Beijing before the annual session. Liu Jieyi, spokesperson for the committee, discussed targeted democratic supervision. Take a listen to this.
Democratic supervision is one of the main functions of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, an important component of the socialist supervision system, and an important form of realizing socialist consultative democracy. The democratic supervision of the CPPCC is a consultative form of supervision, focusing on the major issues concerning the country and the concerns of the people. It emphasizes working in the same direction and answering the same questions with relevant functional departments, actively promoting the implementation of the decisions and plans of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China. Conducting special supervision over the implementation of the 5-year plan is one of the important forms of democratic supervision by the National Committee of the CPPCC. Over the past 5 years, the 10 special committees of the National Committee of the CPPCC have respectively selected important issues in the implementation of the 14th 5-year plan and carried out 5-year continuous and 2-term follow-up special democratic supervision. A total of 779 person-times of the National Committee of the CPPCC participated in these 10 special democratic supervision projects and put forward 323 supervision opinions, contributing to the implementation of the 14th 5-year plan.
Diplomats from Kuwait, Egypt, and Russia are closely watching the national strategies and accomplishments emerging from China's 2 sessions. This is a focus shared by business leaders and researchers from Germany and Malaysia.
Kuwait pays close attention to China's 2 sessions. The strategic signals released during this key event shape China's policy direction in areas like economic development, structural reform, opening up, and the modernisation of its economic governance system. We are particularly focused on policies related to high-quality development, enhancing innovation and advanced technology, the digital economy, green development, and the transition to clean energy. We're also closely watching policy guidance on improving the investment climate, protecting investors' rights, and expanding openness to global markets. These measures, which facilitate trade and capital flows, help boost international confidence in the Chinese economy. Against this backdrop, we believe these policies will have a direct and positive impact on the economic partnership between China and Kuwait, as well as on China-Arab cooperation as a whole.
We continue to follow closely the progress, development and modernisation achievements China has made across various fields. China's 5-year plans, along with its policies of opening up and international cooperation, have enabled us to benefit and have also helped to further strengthen cooperation among Global South countries. We look forward to drawing on China's experience to build a future of shared prosperity for Egypt, China and the Global South as a whole.
China is no longer just chasing numeric growth, but is now pursuing high-quality development driven by innovation. China is taking the lead in a range of cutting-edge technological fields. The blueprint laid out by China will surely be realized. I am deeply convinced of that.
We see China in a globally leading position in fields like artificial intelligence and humanoid robotics. Every time I travel to China on business, I can see how remarkable the outcomes of China's development are. The solutions have become so much smarter, and the momentum behind China's high-quality development is incredibly strong.
Given China's roles as a major engine of global growth and a key player in global governance, the decision and policy signals coming out of the 2 sections have implications not only for China, 1.4 billion people, but also for global markets, supply chain, and international cooperation.
And now joining us here in the studio for some more analysis are our guests, Zhang Gong, Professor of Economics at the University of International Business and Economics, and also Andy Mok, a Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. Great to have you with us on our special program. So this year is said to be an unusually busy and unusually significant year because members and deputies are going to start discussing the 15th 5-year plan. Now, overall, as a specialized advisory body here in China. How can we ensure that members' discussions and deliberations are both forward-looking and constructive to the national strategic development?
Well, let me first point out that the two session is part of China's democratic process, especially the CPPCC. It's a supervisory board. It's also a place for discussing important matters and policies of great concern. And I think the entire international narrative about China's five-year plan, which is going to be discussed at this venue, has entirely changed. It used to be mocked upon, used to be sort of laughed at as part of the legacy of the old Soviet-style planned economy, things like that. But we have seen over the decades that this has been extremely important and contributes greatly to the success of China's industrial policy, China's industrial development achievements so far. So I think this is being taken more seriously these days, and I think we're going to keep the tradition this time that we're going to seriously discuss this five-year plan. What are the emphasis? What are the directions the country needs to go? What are the industrial policies to be focused on? All these important issues will be discussed at CPPCC as part of the democratic process here in China for the country to move forward.
Andy, can I have you add to that point? Because for outsiders looking in, China does many things differently. The way it practices democracy is distinct with Chinese characteristics. And what we've been discussing, the whole process, people's democracy, is as unique as it comes. How would you describe what this process is like and why two sessions is a vital link in that?
Sure. Well, Zhongshu, I think you're right that it is distinctive, but I think it is not only distinctive with Chinese characteristics, but it's also distinctive because the results it has delivered, not only year by year, but decade over decade. So I think it is very important for the world to understand a little bit better how this actually works. So I would say the place to start is with the CPC setting long-term strategy. And China is a vast country, but it is also diverse and increasingly complex. So I think the two sessions can be understood, first of all, as a synchronization mechanism every year to make sure that everyone is on the same page. And this also really becomes the operating manual that is updated every year. So the provinces, the cities, businesses, investors know what to concentrate on. So I think this is more of a procedural way of understanding it. But I think an even more important way to think about it is that I think John is absolutely right. That for a long time, especially in the West, has criticized China for its lack of democracy, so-called lack of democracy. But I think what we see here with the two sessions, especially with the CPPCC, is that what we're witnessing today is really like the 10% of the iceberg that's above the seawater. And the 90% that we cannot see is really the incredible amount of work, bottom up, where views, recommendations, criticisms, feedback are collected and distilled level by level until we reach here, which is why it's called the most important event, one of the most important political events, because it's the culmination of a very long process. And the other point I want to make, too, is that in the West, people criticize China for not having so-called open elections because the people don't have a voice. But I think what's important to notice here is that voting is actually quite a low information signal, right? You cast a vote and that's basically it. But the Chinese approach is actually much more nuanced and granular, right? Everyone gets to say what they think, what they hope will happen. And of course, not everyone gets everything. But there is a systematic process for capturing this information and distilling it. So I think this is vital to understand why China has been so successful. And the last point I want to make about this is that the other I would say complaint about China is that it is monolithic. The CPC dictates everything. And I think what the CPPCC shows us, which is not as obvious, which is great, we can highlight it here, is that there are actually multiple political parties in China. And the CPPCC is the mechanism through which their views, their aspirations are collected and integrated into the overall national plan. And I think the divergence is this. The West values confrontation and rhetorical combat to get political results. But the Chinese approach is actually much more collaborative. So I think it's less exciting, perhaps, in some sense, but I think uniquely effective.
Andy, you mentioned diversity just now, and we understand that members from the CPPCC are from 34 different sectors, science and technology, medicine, culture. How do we ensure, how do we balance their different, sectoral expertise, and at the same time also make sure that they are on the same page across cultural, across sectoral collaboration is also maximized?
Well, I think the selection or the election of these representatives are across the board, reflect the broader walks of life and society, encompassing different fields, different sectors. We have representatives from private sector, from the government, from other institutions, from university communities. And also want to point out that here in China, we also have deliberations. It's just sometimes not broadly broadcast, and sometimes these are closed room deliberations, heated deliberations among representatives arguing about things. Indeed, we do have a process of contest, debate, and arguments. So I think it's, in a sense, it's actually not so much different. But the real difference is really what's the purpose of this? We are not interested in a gridlock politics, for the sake of just opposing the party. We're all about consensus building, result oriented. We want to reach something, build consensus, right? So I think this is the ultimate purpose of both sessions, both organizations, to come up with something in consensus that are actionable, that will be implemented, that will have an impact on economy, on society. I think that's the difference that I can think of when you compare to some Western-style democratic systems.
Right.
Yeah, we're also at this time showing our viewers pictures from the Great Hall of the People, where, as we know, the members' corridor will take place any time now. It is an occasion where political advisors will take questions from the press and media.
各位记者朋友，大家下午好。
Dear friends from the media,
欢迎
good
参加
afternoon.
全国政协
Welcome
14届4次会议 第一场委员通
The
道
first
积极
members
采访活
corridor
动。
of the
我们
fourth
在人民
session
大
of the
会堂
14th
现场有请
CPPCC
部分
National
全国政协委
Committee.
员
We have
为大
invited
家关
some
心的问题。
CPPCC members
请记
here
者
at
朋
the
友在
Great
提
Hall
问
of the
前
People
先
to
自报家
answer
门。
your questions. Please
下面
introduce
有请
yourself
第一次
before
委员入场。
asking
谢
the
谢。
question. Shall we invite the first batch of CPPCC members? Please introduce yourselves first.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
全国政协委员
I'm CPPCC member Pan Jianwei. I come from the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Good afternoon. My name is Huang Sanwen. I come from the Chinese Academy of Sciences. I'm also a CPPCC member. Good afternoon. My name is Jiang Pengju. I come from Changzhou of Jiangsu Province. Now the floor is open to questions.
请西区那位穿黑色西服带红领带的
First question, please. Thank you very much. I'm with CMG. My question is to Huang Sanwen. China's grain output has exceeded 1.4 trillion yen for 2 consecutive years. The foundation has been consolidated, and this is a good quantity. So, what do you think are the reasons of such achievements? Thank you for your question, and thank you for paying attention to agriculture. In 2025, China's grain output reached 1.43 trillion yen, increased by 95 billion yen compared to 5 years ago. Unit yield has contributed to 90% of that, so the code of China's agriculture output is agriculture technology. The CPC Central Committee attaches great importance to food supply of 1.4 billion people, and during the 14th five-year plan, agricultural seeds and machinery, among other major Scientech projects, have been put on the ground. We have made important breakthroughs with some basic theories, and some key technologies have come up. And a number of technological applications have been translated into a reality. So agriculture technology has contributed to 64% of the increase of output of agriculture. And we are covering vegetables, fruits, and all types of products, and over 90% of those products are produced here domestically. And that is to say that Chinese grain, Chinese vegetable, and Chinese meat are mainly using domestic seeds and species. And also the comprehensive agriculture machinery level has reached 67%. Drones have become a new agriculture machinery too, making it much easier and more effective for farmers farming their land. And let me give you one example. And corns are the primary grain type in China, but the unit production is lagging behind compared to developed countries. The main reason is a lack of farming intensity. But if we simply increase the intensity, we will have other bottlenecks. To solve this problem, the Chinese Academy of Sciences, led by Li Shaopeng's team, after 20 years of continuous efforts and massive experiments across the country, has produced an approach of corn plantation that is tailored to Chinese realities. So the unit plantation has increased to 6,000, and during the 14th five-year plan, this plantation was practiced all across the country. So the unit yield per moo increased by 103 kilos, and in Yili of Xinjiang, they have produced a experimental land covering 2 million moo. The outlines for the 15th five-year plan suggests that we need to enhance the capacity of food supply. So we will enhance the empowerment of technology and carry out a number of scientific breakthroughs. We have plans to better serving China's agricultural development with greater technology so that we can truly empower agriculture with technology. Thank you very much, Mr. Huang. Next question, please.
请东区第一排那位穿白色衣服的女记者提问。
谢谢主持人。
Thank you very much.
我是科技日报记者。
We
问
set
题提给
the
潘建委
science
潘委员您好。
paper and a question to the members. Right now we know that quantum become a major pillar to promote the science and technology development. What's the progress in this regard? Thank you very much for your question. During the 14th five-year plan period, under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee, we vigorously moved forward in promoting quantum development. Quantum communication remain top around the world, and the quantum, the mirroring, and also the other sectors also right now on the forefront of the international landscape. We also researched, studied, and launched the very first, the quantum. The satellite is a very small size, low cost, but actually play a bigger role because that adds a unbreakable and unlockable the transmission wave for the satellite. That's also break at the world record. And we also studied that the clock that help us to actually to lower that's the mistake within that's the 1 second for that the a very long time. So there are a lot of achievements that redefined that how we look at and measure the time.
that also provide a Chinese clock for the world, and also to safeguard the national security, as well as that can help us to run the economy independently. In terms of a quantum facility, actually we faced that difficulties, and that didn't stop us. We studied and made breakthroughs. So right now we self-developed the world-level advanced equipment in this regard, so that also help us to support that quantum processing and other research work. On this basis, we also made milestone achievements. So that's actually tell us that for the core technologies in key fields, you should not really wait others to give you. And we should take the initiative to make breakthroughs, and that help us to really to bring that strength into that pillar to support us to realize further development. The good news is that with the really that the rounds of the research, and we could see that right now we have a bigger team, and also that the people in our team actually from different disciplines, they really raise very strong missions, and they could provide that continuous breakthrough work for us. During the 15th five-year plan period, we will continue to strengthen our innovation and also to make a deeper integrated among university research institute enterprises, so that could really let the quantum development to better support and the development of the new productive quality forces. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pan. Now, next question, please.
有请西区那位第2排戴眼镜、穿灰色西装衣服的记者提问。
好的，谢谢主持人。我是中国外语局中国网的记者。
I'm with ChinaNet. My question is to Jiang Pengju.
我们知道苏
Good
超已经
afternoon.
从一场地方的足球
We know
赛事
Suzhou
成为
has
现象级的
elevated
IP
from a local sport event to a big phenomenon in China of culture. And what are the experiences that we can scale up from the success of Suzhou football? Thank you very much. Last year, Suzhou was viral. We attracted 2.43 million spectators and even more online. And this is showing the success of not just this sport, but also a cultural success. Suzhou came from the general public, and those who are playing the game, they are ordinary people just like us, and those who are released from work, they just move on to the field to play, and they love this game, and they have glorified this game. And the match on June the 21st last year, although it was snowing, Changzhou team made it to the final round. The purity of this game has ignited the enthusiasm of many people. The success of Suzhou is a macrocosm of China's efforts in building a strong sports country. And we have driven the development of not just these sports, but also relevant matches and events. And they have become an important tool to strengthen the cultural development of the country. And we believe in cultural empowerment. And some people say online that friendship is first, and the result of the match only ranks 14th. And between different cities, and they are competing each other, and they write songs to cheer up the teams that they support. So the creativity and passion generated by this sport is a great interaction between the sport and the general public, and this is why this sport can be sustained. And cultural and sports creation allows people not just to enjoy the sport, but also enjoy get-togethers. And we see visitors and spectators swimming all the different cities, and sports has put together culture and commerce activities, which has demonstrated the warmth of a city. No matter who you are and where you're from, you are treated as equals when you are seated in the audience. With tens of thousands of spectators and those watching online, we have listened to the feedbacks of the people, and this has also enhanced the interaction between the government and the people. And during the Spring Festival holiday, culture and sports-related tourism continued to increase, and we have altogether 596 million people on travel, spending a huge amount of money. In Changzhou of Jiangsu province, we have folk customs, intangible cultural heritage demonstrations altogether amounting to more than 1,000 events, and the number of visitors has increased by 25%, and culture and tourism have also played an important role in driving economic growth, and we believe in the prospect of 2026. Thank you very much to Mr. Jiang, and thank you to all the 3 CPPCC members. Now let's bring on stage the second batch of CPPCC members.
Please introduce yourself. Good afternoon. My name is Guo Lanfeng, and I'm Chief of China Society of Economic Reform. Good afternoon. I'm also the member of CPPCC from Xinjiang Arts University. My name is Usar Tuhti. Good afternoon. My name is Zheng Yuqun from CATL. Now the floor is open for questions.
请东区第一排那位穿浅紫色西装的女记者提问。
Thank you very much. People's Daily, my question to Mr. Guo. Good afternoon. During the 14th five-year plan, China's economic social development gained a great success. You have a lot of research in this regard. What's your comments? And during the 15th five-year plan, if we realize that the high-quality developments, what are the key in this area? Thank you very much for your question. If you didn't experience, you never know how difficult it is, because during the 5 years, and we have experienced the great difficulties. The CPC Central Committee and the country, that the whole people gain a great success. And let me share with you my experience. During the past 5 years, China's aggregate scale actually reached 140 trillion yuan, the jump 4 milestones, showcasing the overall national strengths of China. And we also talk about that the average investment in China actually surpassed the number in EU, and we also to realize that the great success in innovation capability building. And third, regarding that exports of the trade in goods ranking the second and ranking the first, and the trade in services ranking the second. And the average space of houses that reached the 40 square meters, and also we have seen a lot of facts showing that the people's well-being actually have been improved. So we talk about actually, you look at the high-speed railway trains, and also the basic medical insurance cover 1.3 billion people. All these are the great achievements, but we also need further improvements. I would like to talk about 3 keys. First, we should really to seize the main theme of high-quality development. It's not really just coming up into our mind from nowhere. We talk about the way we should really have that system and a plan to really help you to find the room for further improvement, and also you know where you should put your strengths and investment. So we should build up that system to enable you to do so. And second, we need to let the market play its role. So we talk about that we should really give more flexibility to the role of the market, and also you can control and oversight the market. So by doing so, we should really establish that the unified national market and to build up the boundary and also to create an enabling environment for the enterprises to success. And the third, and we should also to make systematic and holistic way to realize that the economic reform. We're talking about reform in the economy actually not really play its own game. That should really to think about how that interconnected with other reforms in other sectors. So we should really bring that the achievements of reform that should be realized by formulating the laws and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guo. Next question, please.
那位穿红色衣服的女记者提问。
谢谢主持人。
I'm with People's CPPCC. My question is to talk to you. Last year, we commemorated the 75th anniversary of Xinjiang, and you have attended the World Congress, and your students also participated in the celebration. What is your impression participating in the celebration? Thank you very much, and your question brought me back to the scenes of last year, and each time I participate in such celebration, I felt overwhelmed. I feel proud and grateful to the invitation. And when I was 16, I took a bus of 5 days and 5 nights and arrived at the Xinjiang Art University in Urumqi. I have witnessed the significant changes in Xinjiang, and when the new channel was founded, we only have one higher education institution in Xinjiang, and right now we have 62 such institutions, and you have a under postgraduate college in all the different prefectures. And last year we have 230,000 students entering under postgraduate colleges, and the cultural and arts training are well aligned with the development reality of Xinjiang. Vocational education is also taking off. More and more people in Xinjiang, they are changing their destiny through education, and they are changing their own destiny with skills. Right now, the most beautiful buildings are universities, and the most beautiful place are the campuses of universities, and people are so happy that they can get into a university near their home, and they say that this is the best moment of history in Xinjiang. In this place where many ethnic groups live together, the children and the youth, they have a unified understanding about this fact, and they are also very familiar with the Chinese language. The arts programs of different minority ethnic groups can be seen on the campus. The students, they highly recognize the traditional fine Chinese cultures. And last year, at the 70th anniversary of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, the musical part was undertaken by students from Xinjiang Art University. We used erhu, the horse head instruments, among other minority music instruments, and we presented a symphony of ethnic harmony. And after the performance, one performer said that when one melody is presented using music instruments from different minority ethnic groups, and we feel that we are just one family. And across the Tian Shan mountain, we believe that we will sing a better song of ethnic unity. Thank you very much to Moya Sayer. Next question, please.
东区这位穿蓝色小西服的女记者提问。
Thank you. Workers Daily, my question to Mr. Zeng. Good afternoon, Mr. Zeng. And in 2025, the lithium battery, the PEV, and also the new energy vehicles actually become the three new drivers who support China's export growth, and how that the new energy industries could enjoy this rapid growth. Thank you very much. To share with you my observations, we talk about that first, should give the credit to the 14th five-year plan, and also if you look at the previous five-year plan, starting from 11th five-year plan, that's actually we made this sector as a national strategy with 20 years of policies that really gave us tremendous confidence and also the North Stars for the people in this industry. And also that the people in our industry, we work really hard. So if you think about that, from the materials to that really the application of batteries and to the recycle of the batteries actually were formed quite complete production, and also the ecosystems. And more than that, actually, we also work really hard to making something new. Let's give you an example. For CATL, actually, we really consist to the efforts in the self-innovation. For our R&D investment, that's actually amounted 8 million yuan, and in the recent years, that's 2 million R&D investment spent every year. So right now, we have around 50,000 patents gained. So that also enable our products popular, and also that the 20 million vehicles actually use our batteries, and also the battery also used for a lot of the battery storage facilities. And besides innovating products, we also work on the standards. So you also could see that in the recent years, we also built up that our supply chain and also that the industrial chain actually with a lot of resilience. We're very proud of the achievements made in the industry. Of course, we should not really stop here. We should think about how that AI could enable the future investment. So where we should invest? We should invest in new materials, new chemical systems, new structural systems, as well as energy system and production system. We talk about that smart manufacturing. As a leading company in this industry, we always champion that open and also that's the win-win spirit. We would like to sell our products to the world, and also at the same time, we like to promote our standards, our technologies to other countries. We would like to work with other companies around the world to make a great contribution to the new energy industry development. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now let's welcome the third batch of members. Please identify yourselves. Good afternoon. I'm CPPCC member Yang Jie. I come from China Mobile. Good afternoon. My name is Li Ying. I'm a CPPCC member. I come from Dalian Maritime University. Good afternoon. My name is Wang Yongfeng. I come from the Chinese Mountaineering Association. Now the floor is open to questions. First question, please. Thank you. I'm with China's Women magazine. My question is to Li Ying. Right now, China is accelerating the pace of building a strong maritime country, and there is great resilience shown as a maritime researcher. How should China's maritime industry improve its comprehensive strength? Thank you very much. Indeed, maritime transportation is a primary form of navigation globally, and it underpins 80% of the world's economic growth. And to develop our economy, we have to embrace maritime transportation. And to this end, we have to become bigger, smarter, and greener. In terms of bigger, China has the world's largest fleet of maritime transportation, and I paid a visit to Xinjiang. I saw a container ship with the capacity of 20,000 containers, and he said that he's able to supply many Chinese families with their Spring Festival grocery needs. And the first Made in China vessel was also rolled off the production line, and that means China's shipping industry now covers aircraft carriers and major vessels and major cargo ships. So this shows a comprehensive breakthrough in all the three pillars. In terms of smarter, we are employing more intellectual systems by deploying more sensors. Our vessels and ships, and they now have eyes and brains that can see clearly the waves and the weather. For our sailors, they can be connected with real-time maritime information. So we now have greater autonomous operation. And in terms of greener, China is building green ports and green ships, and Tianjin and Qingdao ports are carrying out a number of pilot programs. And in the past, ports are driven by fossil fuel, but right now it's driven by green electricity. The orders that we receive in terms of ships account for 70% of the world's total. And we are also using new type of ships driven by new energy. In the future, I believe there will be more scientific breakthroughs which will be translated into applications in the shipping industry. We will have a small integrated maritime transportation framework. I believe the future is brighter, and I welcome you to become a member of China's maritime industry. Thank you.
Next question, please.
请东区这位穿米粉色衣服的女记者提问。
Thank you very much. CMG, my question to Mr. Yang Jie. Good afternoon. To build a modern industry as the key task for a 15th five-year. Right now, standing at this new starting point, would you like to share with us from the communication industry how you build a modernized industry system? Thank you for your question. For the telecommunication industry development, actually, that's a vivid reflection of that, a modernized industry. During the 14th five-year plan period, we built the world's largest 5G market, and 60% of the world's base stations actually located in China. We also built up the computing network, so we actually formed that new infrastructure, including the data, the network. And we talk about that we further improve the control over that industrial and supply chains. In recent years, we could see that the digital technology also empowered the different industries and bring benefits to different households. Talk about that. The telecommunication industry actually also to play a bridge work. Actually, on the one hand, we boost consumption. On the other hand, we also like to boost industry development. We hope that we could bring a high-quality development that should really to form the synergy with a different industry. First, we should build a smart and integrated telecommunication infrastructure, so that should cover both the air, the land, the sea. So we talk about that it's a modern system and also lay the solid and the safe foundation in terms of that digital information infrastructure. And the second, we should boost the development of the industry of the future and emerging industry. And we should cultivate new form of industries and a new form of business. And third, we should think about how that digital technology could really help upgrade, transform the traditional industry, so they could make their move towards the smart and also that's the a low emission way. And also we talk about that embodied AI, and also we talk about that the silicon labors that actually become a new dividends of talent and population. And fifth, we should think about how we could make new breakthroughs and bring that the breakthroughs integrated, so we could really transform that new outcomes from the bookshelf to the shelf in the stores. And also, of course, we should really have that corresponding policies to boost these development. And also, we should cultivate and pool the world top talents, and also that the factors of productions all together. That will help us realize the high quality development of the economy. Thank you very much. Next question, please.
请西区那位戴眼镜、穿西服的记者提问，男记者提问。
Thank
you. With Xinhua News Agency, my question is to Wang Yongfeng. Good afternoon. You have been in the mountaineering industry for decades. You have witnessed China's development of mountaineering. Can you share with us your experience, and how can mountaineering inspire the general public? Thank you very much. I have been a mountaineer for 40 plus years. And the most vivid memory was in 1993. I participated in the Cross Strait mountaineering team after conquering the summit. Because of a lack of oxygen, my right eye was blind, and I was missing for 28 hours. And normally, missing in action of more than 24 hours means a minimal chance of survival. But I managed to find an abandoned oxygen cylinder and made it safely to the base camp. So mountaineering is not just the task that can be conquered by any individuals. Wang Fuzhou, Xu Yonghua, and Liu Lianman a couple of years ago at the temperature of minus 30 degrees. They, for the first time, inserted the national flag of China at the summit of Mount Everest. Over the past few decades, the mountaineering and climbing spirit of the Chinese teams have passed down from one generation to another. And in 2020, I was serving as the chief commander of the Mount Komalama mountaineering team, relying mainly in China measuring tools, and we measured the most accurate height of Mount Komalama, which is 8,848.86 meters. And more climbers and mountaineers joined our team, and in last year alone there were 56 climbers made it to the summit. So this is a demonstration of China's overall national strength. The mountaineering spirit is also one part of the efforts of building China into a strong country in sports. In the just concluded Milano Olympic Winter Games, Chinese athletes made a record, delivered the record achievement of Chinese athletes participating in overseas Olympic events. And as of now, we have 38.5% of the mountaineers that are actively participating in international events, and 4.9% of them are qualified for sports. So this is a result of training, day in and day out, and we need to embrace the mountaineering spirit as long as we can hold firm to this spirit and be down to earth and defy the odds, and we believe we will conquer all the summits and overcome all the hardships. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the 3 CPPCC members. Thank you to all the journalists. With this, let's conclude today's Members' Corridor. On the afternoon of March the 5th, we're going to host the second Members' Corridor.
Well, a total of 9 political advisors have spoken at the Members' Corridor. They've shared with us stories of industrial insight and personalized growth. These are stories of endeavor, aspiration, and in a way, I guess, inspiration as well for everyone listening in. Yeah. And for now, China's national political advisors have taken questions ahead of the opening of the annual session at the Great Hall of the People. Pan Jianwei, academician at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, says China has made huge achievements in quantum development during the past 5 years.
Under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee, we vigorously moved forward in promoting quantum development. Quantum communication remain top around the world, and the quantum, the mirroring, and also the other sectors also right now on the forefront of the international landscape. The good news is that with the rounds of the research, and we could see that right now we have a bigger team, and also that the people in our team actually from different disciplines, they really raise very strong missions, and they could provide that continuous breakthrough work for us. During the 15th five-year plan period, we will continue to strengthen our innovation and also to make a deeper integrated among university research institute enterprises, so that could really let the quantum development to better support and the development of the new productive quality forces.
Well, indeed, we were hearing members telling their individual stories in their different sectors, their personal growth along with the country's development. And now let's hear some more expert analysis with our guests here in the studio. So Andy, I want to get your major takeaway from the members taking questions from the press. I could get the feeling that technology was front and center of their approaches.
Absolutely, Meng Lang. So I think, we heard about, from a technological perspective, China's drive to become an agricultural powerhouse, obviously with Robin Zeng from CATL, with electric batteries, and not only the technological breakthroughs that they've achieved, but the business success as well, an IPO in Hong Kong last year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what I think really struck me is not only the inspirational stories and the technological advances, but if I think about China's system, so if we use an analogy, like if we want to build a house, the Chinese approach is to say, okay, we need an electrician, we need a plumber, we need a carpenter, and we put these people together, and let's work together to build the house. Some other political systems would say, okay, we need to build a house, let's hold a contest, and whoever's most popular will be on the team, or whoever will pay the most to be on the team gets to be on the team. So in this way, I think it's a very grounded approach. So personally inspirational to hear what these people have achieved. I think especially in sports, Suzhou football, mountaineering, and I think this shows the next phase of development in China's growth, that it has a strong technological foundation. But that is not the end point. It's to allow people to live happier, more interesting, more fulfilled lives, whether that's mountaineering, whether that's playing football, being a football fan, or engaging in winter sports or whatever. So all in all, I think China takes a very portfolio, pragmatic approach to governance.
Andy, thank you. And before I could get your insights from Professor Gong, let's check in the latest with our correspondent, Dai Kai-yi. He's been following the development very closely from the Great Hall of the People. So Kai-yi, tell us more about the CPPCC members just taking questions from the press. They've certainly told us a lot of their industry expertise as well as their insights into the country's development.
Well, yes, Hona, the members' corridor takes place here at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Now, in the first round of interviews, political advisors really shared firsthand and frontline insights from across the economy. They touched on science and technology, they touched on agriculture, on healthcare, you name it. So on the economy, members continue to express confidence in China's growth outlook in 2026, partly because, this marks the opening year and the opening chapter of the 15th five-year plan. That is a development blueprint for China's growth over the next 5 years. Also because China's GDP has expanded 5% in 2025 year on year, surpassing over $20 trillion for the very first time. China's economy also sustained its momentum amid a very complex geopolitical landscape globally. And the discussions also centered on what we call new quality productive forces. So it's mainly on technology side, especially advances in quantum technology, as one of the members just mentioned in the corridor, and also robotics and artificial intelligence, high-end manufacturing or smart manufacturing. China's ability in terms of, in a number of areas, according to the members, continue to narrow the gap with global leaders. And agriculture, meanwhile, was another focus here. The members highlighted the breakthroughs in the agriculture technology innovation. They mentioned the improving productivity of food and also the food security issues. So overall, today's members' corridor showcased what some of the top priorities are that the members have been focusing. So they're certainly grounded in confidence, but also focus on challenges head on. Hona.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kai-yi, for that reporting.
And at this moment, we're also awaiting the opening of the CPPCC National Committee annual session. CGTN reporter Zheng Yibing tells us what we can expect from this year's CPPCC annual session.
Here at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, the opening meeting of the fourth session of the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference will soon be held. Now, China's national political advisors are arriving for this annual session. This year's session is significant as 2026 marks the beginning of the country's 15th five-year plan for economic and social development. Over the next 7 days, around 2,100 national political advisors will reveal the report on the work of the Standing Committee of the CPPCC National Committee and the report on how proposals have been handled since the previous annual session. This afternoon, during the opening meeting, Wang Huning, a member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee and chairman of the CPPCC National Committee, will present the work report of the Standing Committee, and the participating National Committee members will reveal and approve the agenda of the 14th National Committee of the CPPCC and listen to the work report of the Standing Committee and the report of the Standing Committee on the work of proposals since previous session. Apart from the opening and closing ceremonies, the annual session also introduces 2 plenary meetings and multiple group discussions. Foreign diplomats in China have been invited to observe this session, and 3 sideline interviews attended by national political advisors are scheduled for media engagement. And the first such interview is held exactly 1 hour ahead of the opening ceremony. Well, this year marks the beginning of China's 15th five-year plan. How will the CPPCC members discuss and offer suggestions based on the major plan? What grassroots voices will they bring? All these will be gradually reviewed after 3 p.m. today. We'll continue to keep you updated about the annual session. Zheng Yibing, CGTN, Beijing.
And now let's get back to our studio guests here, Andy Mok and Professor Zhang Gong. So, Professor, we were talking about how this initiative worked to close the information gap between CPPCC members, these political advisors, as well as the general public. This is the 9th year this initiative has been in place. Tell us about your thoughts and then the general picture. Which piece of information struck the chord with you?
Well, speaking of getting connected with the public, there is actually quite a bit of important things that we learned, at least from my perspective, first time. For example, the guy from Science Academy mentioned that China has launched a quantum satellite, which is the first, he says the world record. That's the first quantum satellite being launched so far. So this is something of great news to me. And also about CATL, the world's best, greatest battery company in the entire world. And Mr. Chen Robin was talking about 55,000 patents filed so far, 20 million cars being used worldwide using CATL batteries, and also he said it's playing a very important role in setting standards related to batteries. I think these are all great achievements. Definitely, China is the leader in the battery industry, and CATL is the leader in this whole industry. Another thing I want to say is that I think not just closing the gap between getting connected with the public, also the international audience as well. I think it's very important. This brings to the speech by the dean of the Xinjiang Arts University. Obviously, I think she's a Uyghur, right? So I think the fact that she's talking about developments in Xinjiang autonomous region, the fact that people in Xinjiang have a much, much better life, had access to education of something like this at her institution, just debunks the myth about this so-called genocide in Xinjiang. This is totally garbage in my view, right? They're talking about 1 million people being incarcerated, the genocide in Xinjiang. It cannot be further from the truth. I think what's happening here, as she was telling the international audience, is that it's a totally different picture. So I think from that perspective, it's actually very important for people like her to come to the stadium and talk about what's really happening in places where people have a total misunderstanding about in China.
Andy, let me follow up on what the CATL boss has said. Obviously, lithium batteries are now one of the 3 export items, the new export items we're calling from China now. How important is it that China has taken leadership when it comes to new energy cars, new energy batteries, and the potential growth for the industry here?
Well, Zhongshu, I think it's incredibly important, and it's important for several reasons. So it's widely recognized and accepted that something really has to be done about this environmental, some people call it a catastrophe. And I think the way it's often framed in the West, it's either or. We can have economic growth or we can have green technology. And I think what China has done, which Robin alluded to in his remarks, is that, thank you to the 14th five-year plan, is that China said, well, wait a minute, we could actually have both if we properly organize it. And I think one thing to point out here is that the English name is CATL, but the Chinese name is actually Ningde Shidai. And Ningde is a city in Fujian province, which historically has been very poor and very backwards. So I think this story shows that you can not only have leading edge technological breakthroughs that scale globally, but you can also do it while improving the livelihoods of a place that was relatively off the economic mainstream. So I think it's very clear if you listen to Robin's interviews or his speeches, that this is very much a part of their culture and the aspirations is not only to be globally competitive on a technological perspective, be successful from a market perspective, so their investors are happy, retail investors are happy now that they're a publicly listed company, but also they are benefiting their other stakeholders, the employees that work there, the local government by increasing the tax base, et cetera. And I think in this way, it's a prime example of how Chinese entities are able to accomplish holistic objectives, not just maximizing profit, not just having the most patents, but how do you do this in a way that actually, again, achieves a lot of important objectives.
And it was also amazing to hear from him that his company is actually investing $2 million, $200 million RMB in R&D every year. And just think about the level of wisdom, the level of expertise and resources, capital that companies like this could put together in terms to becoming pillars to support China's economic growth as well as innovation.
Yeah, I think it's a slip of tongue. I think it's got to be 2 billion. It's not going to be 200 million.
2 billion RMB.
I think it's probably 2 billion.
Yeah.
So it's this is a company invests heavily in R&D. One of the important features of China's development model is that companies move very fast. Things are very dynamic, and companies invest heavily in this kind of environment, in R&D, in the latest technology. So I think the fact that CATL has been so successful for actually quite a period of time, and also as a major investor in Europe, right? They have a factory, I think, in Germany, together with BMW, I think. It shows that the technological prowess of this great company. Now, by the way, there is some speculation that they're considering a investment in the United States. I think President Trump at one point was talking about this, right? I think the talk is between CATL and Ford Motor Company, I think. I hope it's going to materialize. This is a global company. I would call it a jewel on the crown of corporate China's technological prowess.
And I would add to that, Mao, that to your point about spending so much on R&D, that takes enormous courage and vision. Because we hear a lot about short-termism, whether that's any part of the world, business people want to make as much money as quickly as possible. So I would put Robin Zeng and Ren Zhengfei from Huawei in this category as well. These are not just business people, but men of tremendous courage that are willing to bet quite a lot that they can actually not only deliver technological breakthroughs, but turn them into profitable products. And if you listen to CATL's vision, it's not just vehicle batteries, but it's grid-level batteries where they have to reduce their failures not to 1 in a million, because if you have a big grid-level cell, it has millions and millions of power cells. So that means you're having multiple failures a day. They want to get that down to 1 in a billion.
Always aiming for the next step.
So we see this kind of ambition as well, which I think, we can understand the large investment in R&D that way.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We want to run another soundbite from the political advisors we just heard. CPPCC member Guo Lanfeng, chief of China Society of Economic Reform, has stressed the importance of the role of the market and the significance of reforms regarding China's economic development.
We should really give more flexibility to the role of the market, and also you can control and oversight the market. So by doing so, we should really establish that the unified national market and to build up the boundary and also to create an enabling environment for the enterprises to success. And we should also to make systematic and holistic way to realize that the economic reform, we're talking about reform in the economy, actually not really play its own game. That should really to think about how that's interconnected with other reforms in other sectors. So we should really bring that the achievement of reform that should be realized by formulating the laws and regulations.
Why don't we pick up our conversation with our guests here in the studio, John and Andy. Professor, can I have you wear your economist hat for just a moment? And let's talk about how do we maximize the role of the market here, as mentioned by the CPPCC member. We're at a time when we think a lot about how to steer China's economy forward. We want quality over scale. Right. We want high quality development. We want to boost domestic demand. That remains a key task this year as well. In that process, how do we maximize the market? How do we hear what the market wants?
Yeah, that representative mentioned the word unified market. It's actually very important. It falls right into my area of expertise. The unified market is vital for maximizing economic efficiency, for maximizing free flow of goods and services, especially across provincial boundaries. As a matter of fact, the entire United States antitrust infrastructure was established precisely to bring down those what they call interstate commerce barriers. And that's really what this unified market is all about. I mean, there's tons of empirical studies in economics literature to talk about why a unified market is so vital for economic development. As a matter of fact, if you still remember, there's this Needham puzzle about why industrialization doesn't happen here in China, right? Actually, during the Song Dynasty, that's what it's asking. One of the papers that I've seen at least shows that at the time China doesn't have a unified market. That's a major impediment. So I think the idea of unified market is extremely important, and this is all about bringing down sort of what we call the administrative monopolies, barriers to trade, and also sometimes local government policies favoring, for example, companies in their jurisdiction, in their administration, and that's not right. That's not unified market. I think we can say that China does have unified market when one day we have here in Beijing taxis manufactured by companies in Shanghai, not just by Hyundai or Beijing Hyundai company, but manufactured by companies located in Shanghai, in Wuhan, in Guangzhou, in Anhui province. When we have that, I think we pretty much achieved the goal of a unified market.
And topics concerning rural development is always a priority in China's policy discussions. And we heard a member telling us how technology has empowered China's agricultural development. We have modern equipment in terms of machinery, the use of drone, and innovation, self-innovation, self-reliance in terms of the corn seeds and improving corn yields. Tell us the significance that technology carries in modernizing China's rural development.
Sure, Mamo. So technology, of course, plays a crucial role, whether we're talking about seeds, better seeds, more hardy seeds, but equipment, mechanization, automation, right, is really, really important. But I think what China's doing is actually far deeper and broader than that, because it's not just technology, it's
Andy,
also...
I'm sorry to jump in. Let's head back over to the Great Hall of the People. If you're just joining us here on CGTN, you're looking at live pictures coming out of the Great Hall People, where we're seconds away from the annual session of the CPPCC National Committee.
Fellow members, friends and comrades. The fourth session of the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference is scheduled to be attended by 2,125 members. Today, 2,078 members are present, meeting the quorum requirement. I now declare the fourth session of the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference open. Please all rise for the national anthem. Please be seated. Today, with us, we have General Secretary of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, Chinese President, Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Comrade Xi Jinping. Also attending meeting by invitation are other leaders of the party and the state, officials from relevant departments of the CPC Central Committee, the Standing Committee of the MPC and the State Council, as well as foreign diplomats in China and overseas Chinese. Let us extend a warm welcome to them. For today, we have 3 items on the agenda. Let's now move to the first item, the adoption of the agenda for the fourth session of the 14th National Committee of the CPPCC. May I invite the staff to read out the draft agenda? The fourth session of the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference agenda, the draft version. 1. Hear and deliberate a work report of the Standing Committee of the CPPCC National Committee. Second, hear and deliberate a report on the work of proposals from political advisors since the last session of the CPPCC National Committee. Third, sit in on the fourth session of the 14th National People's Congress, hear and discuss reports, including a government work report. Discuss a draft outline of the 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development. Fourth, review and approve a political resolution on the fourth session of the 14th CPPCC National Committee. Fifth, review and approve a resolution on the work report of the Standing Committee of the CPPCC National Committee. Sixth, review and approve a resolution on the work of proposals from political advisors since the last session of the CPPCC National Committee. Seventh, review and approve a report on the examination of proposals by the CPPCC National Committee. Members, any comments on the draft agenda? If no objections, please approve it with a round of applause. Now let's move on to the second item on the agenda. Please allow me to invite Comrade Wang Huning to deliver a work report on behalf of the Standing Committee of the 14th National Committee of the CPPCC. Fellow members, on behalf of the Standing Committee of the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, I present this report on our work for your deliberation. Part 1, Review of our work in 2025. The year 2025 was a crucial year for advancing Chinese modernization. In the face of a complicated international landscape and the challenging domestic task of advancing reform, promoting development, and ensuring stability, the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core has united the entire party and the Chinese people of all ethnic groups and led them in meeting difficulties head-on and forging ahead with determination. Kept in mind both domestic and international imperatives. As a result, the main economic and social development targets for the year were accomplished. China's economy continued to embrace innovation and excellence despite challenges, achieving new outcomes in fostering new quality productive forces. New strides were made in reform and opening up. People's livelihoods were further safeguarded. Social stability was maintained. The 14th five-year plan was successfully concluded. China's economic strengths, scientific and technological capabilities, and composite national strengths rose to a new height, and solid new strides were made in advancing Chinese modernization. The fourth plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee was successfully convened, drawing a blueprint for development over the next 5 years. We had recently commemorated the 80th anniversary of the victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. This occasion has greatly lifted national spirit, inspired a strong sense of patriotism among our people. The CPPCC National Committee and the Standing Committee have followed the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, have a thorough understanding of the decisive significance of the two establishments, enhance the four consciousnesses, reinforce the four confidence, and ensure the two upholds. We fully implemented the guiding principle from the 20th CPC National Congress and all the plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee. Key ideas on strengthening and improving CPPCC work by General Secretary Xi Jinping and also his speeches at the conference marking the 75th anniversary of the CPPCC's founding. Regarding the CPC's leadership, the United Front and Consultative democracy as an indivisible whole, we remained true to the nature and position of the CPPCC. We focus on the central task of economic development, serve the overall interests of the country, leverage the role of special committees. As a result, continued progress was secured in our work. Over the past year, we hosted 98 consultation and deliberation sessions in various forms. The National Committee received a total of 5,992 proposals, of which 5,061 were accepted for processing. The response rate for accepted proposals was 99.9%. We also received 75,648 communications from various sectors of society, with 17,223 of these being adopted. On this basis, we'll compile and release 2,118 news bulletins. We received 1,057 comments from leading officials and the officials from the CPC and State Council on various suggestions. We also received 201 feedback reports from localities. We hosted 6,778 activities under the theme of better services for the people and organized 11,115 events to engage with people across various sectors. 21,113 members participated in these events, serving more than 4 million people. Over the course of the year, attendance at consultation and deliberation sessions of National Committee members reached 7,043, while their participation in inspections field visits reached 1,290. 506 members engaged in theoretical research work. A total of 1,965 members contributed to proposal work, and 1,443 members reported on social conditions and public sentiments. 365 members made oral statements at the meetings of the session. The international exchange events hosted by the National Committee registered a total attendance of 343. In addition, 33 National Committee members were presented with annual Outstanding Performance Award. Last year, the National Committee focused on the following 4 areas in elevating the work of CPPCC to a new level. First, upholding the CPC's overall leadership over CPPCC, actively practicing the 2 upholds. Under the top of the agenda system, we intensified efforts to communicate, study, and implement the principles from important speeches of General Secretary Xi Jinping and decisions and plans of CPC Central Committee. We improved the regular and long-term mechanism for implementation in line with the duties and tasks of the CPPCC. We worked to ensure that each of the directives and instructions on CPPC work was fully implemented. Second, studying, communicating, implementing the guiding principles from the 4th plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee and contributing suggestions and proposals on formulating the 15th five-year plan. Formulating the 15th five-year plan served as a major task for the CPPCC National Committee in 2025. We convened subject-specific deliberative meetings of the Standing Committee led by Chairperson Council. We conducted themed research concerning enhancement of the resilience and the security of China's economy in the international circulation and other major issues of strategic overarching and further significance, forming a batch of high-quality achievements. We launched research on the CPPCC regarding 15th five-year plan event. 55 reports in this regard were published. After the 4th plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee was held, the dedicated meetings were convened by the Standing Committee of the National Committee. We studied and also organized report meetings of the Central Communication team, theoretical seminars, and this also provided a full coverage of all the members of CPPCC and members in the General Office, and the media affiliated with National Committee, and also published over 100 articles in this regard. Third, leveraging the fundamental role of special committees and the role of different sectors. Efficacy of the special committees was improved. We revised general rule of National Committee special committees and work guide for each special committees, further clarify the connotation and extension of the fundamental role as well as the responsibility and the tasks of each special committees. We held 20 sector-specific member meetings with 538 members from 34 sectors participated. And also the 72 assigned tasks formed have been fully implemented. Chairperson Council brainstorming session was convened discussing on giving full play to the role of the sectors. We also carried out basic theoretical research on the sectors of the CPPCC, formulated opinions on giving full play to the role of the sectors of the National Committee. It is clearly stipulated that the General Office and the special committees should organize the activities of the sectors in accordance with their respective divisions of labor and promote the orderly and effective implementation of sectoral consultations and proposals. Fourth, carrying out in-depth implementation and study of the CPC Central Committee's 8-point decision on improving work conduct, creating a clean and honest environment that encourages dedication and hard work. We have clearly defined 84 rectification measures and implementing them one by one. We also improve our meeting culture, implemented the management of documents issuance and meeting activity plans. We strengthened the overall planning of investigation research work, strictly controlled the size of delegations and streamlined the arrangements, lightening the burdens on those working on the ground. We improved the regular and long-term mechanism for improving work style and persistently correcting the 4 wrongdoings. In performing its duties over the past year, the Standing Committee of the CPPCC National Committee carried out the following major tasks. First, further promoting the regular study and institutionalized research on thoughts on socialism with Chinese characteristic for a new era, and also unified thoughts, wills, and actions with the party's innovative series. 5 study sessions for the theoretical study group of the leading CPC members group, 3 collective study sessions of the Chairperson's Council, and 4 study lectures were convened. 44 study symposiums were held, with 2,165 committee members in attendance. Adhering to the learning and research system, the members of the Chairperson's meeting conducted 69 learning and research sessions, with 823 committee members participating. We also carried out in-depth reading activities for members, organizing 75 online and offline study tours, with 3,322 committee members participating. Revising selected experts from Xi Jinping's statement on the work of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. As a theoretical study and a training textbook, we organized and carried out 94 research projects, including the important remarks of the General Secretary Xi Jinping on poverty alleviation and alleviation work and the theoretical research on new quality productive forces. We also supported 153 theoretical research projects carried out by committee members, directors of the CPPCC. We also organized 4 quarterly theoretical symposiums, and we also published a theoretical research articles totaling 18 on the People's Daily and Qiu Shi. The CPPCC Daily and the China CPPCC magazine have published 401 in theoretical articles through special sections, columns, and special issues on theoretical research. Third, providing consultation suggestions to advance Chinese modernization, better serving scientific and effective decision-making work. We held 2 special consultative meetings of the Standing Committee, 2 special consultation meetings, 13 bi-weekly consultation symposiums, 4 online consultation meetings, 18 expert consultation meetings, 16 sectoral consultation meetings, 10 counterpart consultation meetings, 19 consultation meetings on the handling of proposals, 10 briefings on key concerns, and also 4 symposiums on the analysis of the macroeconomic situation. Consultations and deliberations were given to the areas including deepening the reform of the economic system, promoting innovation-driven development of new quality productive forces, fostering a first-class business environment, consolidating and refining the basic rural operation system, establishing a new mechanism for the comprehensive transformation from due control of energy consumption to due control of carbon emissions, advancing integration of culture and technologies, optimizing regional education and medical resources allocation, improving and also innovating social governance, assisting development of public welfare, leveraging the strengths in the cultural heritage and museum sector to forge a strong sense of community for the Chinese nation, enhancing the connection mechanism for rules in the Greater Bay Area, guiding overseas Chinese, telling Chinese story well. We gave full play to the fundamental role of investigation research, carried out 104 inspection projects. We organized and implemented 20 national democratic supervision topics, completed the task of conducting democratic supervision over the implementation of the 14th five-year plan for 5 consecutive years, submitted relevant achievement to the Central CPC Committee. We recommended 5 members of the National Committee to serve as special inspectors at the Supreme People's Court and 2 at the Supreme People's Procuratorate.
Third, conducting routine work in a spirit of reform and innovation and improving the standardization and institutionalization of the CPPCC duty performance. We implemented the reform measures on CPPCC work set forth at the 3rd plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee and fully completed the institutional development tasks led by the CPPCC National Committee. We formulated or revised 37 sets of regulations, including the rules and consultation work of the CPPCC National Committee, the regulations and proposal work, and the regulations on inspection and research activities of CPPCC members. In line with the principle of prioritizing quality over quantity in proposal work, we strengthened proposal review, merged those with similar content for unified tendering, and issued 1,831 certificates confirming the completion of these proposals. The Chairperson's Council approved 76 key proposals topics for the year, and 22 council members took the lead in overseeing the handling of 29 of them. Special committee participated in overseeing the handling of 709 key proposals. We revised the measures for evaluating and commending work on reporting social conditions and public opinions, and more effectively translated the CPPCC National Committee's consultation outcomes into practical results. We advanced the integrated development of the CPPCC media with the focus on major themes such as the achievement in economic and social development during the 14th five-year plan period. Media outlets affiliated with the CPPCC National Committee published 856 reports on major duty-performing activities and 5,095 reports on the performance of the CPPCC members. A total of 790 conference speeches were compiled and distributed. 550 of them were further disseminated through meetings, briefings, and media coverage. We completed the collection and publication of documentary historical materials for the project Tracing the Origins of the Chinese Civilization. We also held 37 science popularization tours and lectures, and carried out the public service activities such as the CPPCC member enterprises promoting employment on campus. And we also handled 137 consultation requests on laws, regulations, and important documents from 61 government departments, soliciting opinions from CPPC members and experts on 502 occasions, and putting forward 728 proposed revisions. 4. Upholding unity and solidarity for harmonious relations among political parties, ethnic groups, religions, and social classes. We introduced an accountability system for unified front work. Members of the leading CPC members group of the CPPCC National Committee engaged in 327 one-on-one exchanges with non-CPC members. 866 CPPC member committee members established contact with 1,200 non-CPC members, and 18 inspection tours were organized for non-CPC members. We supported domestic and democratic parties and non-affiliated individuals in fulfilling their duties through the CPPCC. A total of 659 proposals were submitted by non-affiliated individuals. We delivered 427 conference speeches and reported 17,976 pieces of information on social conditions and public opinion. Relevant social committees carried out 10 joint research projects and co-organized 9 consultation activities with the Central Committee of Domestic and Democratic Parties and All China Federation of Industry and Commerce. We also hosted the art exhibition Harmony and Beauty Along the Borderlands, artwork from Xinjiang and Xinjiang celebrating ethnic unity. We offer suggestions on promoting the building of a strong sense of community for the Chinese nation. And we also supported CPPCC members from ethnic minorities and religious sectors in carrying out their duties. Under the initiative of CPPCC members promoting exchanges, interaction, and integration, and we strengthened exchanges and organized tours of CPPCC members from Hong Kong and Macau, in better integrating into and serving the overall national development strategy. A total of 66 CPPCC members from Hong Kong and Macau held 107 talks about the national conditions, and 242 CPPCC members from Hong Kong and Macau were represented at the 8th Cross-Strait Community Level Governance Forum, and they also attended the 80th anniversary of the victory in China's People's War of resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War, and observed the military parade. 5. Coordinating public diplomacy, people-to-people diplomacy, and think tank diplomacy. We conducted 210 foreign exchange activities with 1,781 participants from 129 countries, as well as regional and international organizations. Members of the Chairperson's Council served twice as special envoys of President Xi Jinping to attend major events abroad. They also participated in 139 foreign affairs activities in China and made 15 official visits overseas. And we organized the Experienced CPPCC events, inviting 168 visitors, including diplomatic envoys to China from European countries and young diplomats from Singapore, to visit the CPPCC National Committee. We hosted the friendly exchange event between the CPPCC National Committee and the Central Committee of the Vietnam Fatherland Front, together with organizations from border provinces. We supported the China Economic and Social Council in holding the China Economic and Social Forum under the theme Deepening Exchanges and Mutual Learning Among Civilizations and Building a Community with a Shared Future for Mankind. And we also jointly held the China-EU Roundtable with the European Economic and Social Committee. We supported the China Committee on Religion and Peace in participating in activities organized by Religions for Peace and the Asian Conference of Religions for Peace, and invited religious representatives from Asia-Pacific to visit Xinjiang. 6. Strengthening party building within the CPPCC and advancing the CPPCC's own institutional development. We fulfill the principal responsibility for exercising full and rigorous party self-governance and formulated the working rules for the inspection teams of the leading CPPCC members group of the CPPCC, as well as guidelines on further strengthening party building in special committees, expanded members' participation in duty performance, strengthened the application of outcomes from members' work, and improved routine liaison, service, and management and performance statistics for CPPCC members. We organized special study and seminar programs for the National Committee members and training courses for officials of the General Office with a total attendance of 6,000 in accordance with the CPPCC Charter. The qualifications of 24 CPPCC National Committee members were revoked. We also controlled expenditure on official overseas travel, official vehicles and hospitality, and standardized the management of festivals, exhibitions, and forums. We strengthened the awareness of the CPPCC as a political body, ensured safe and secure institutions, and worked to build model institutions. The achievement made over the past year are fundamentally attributable to the strong leadership of CPC Central Committee with Comrade Qi at the core and the guidance of Xi Jinping's thoughts on socialism with China's characteristics for a new era. They are also the result of the strong support from all sectors of society and the joint efforts of all CPPCC organizations. On behalf of the Standing Committee of the CPPCC, I would like to express my sincere gratitude. Meanwhile, we are mindful of the shortcomings in our work. These mainly include insufficient depth in consultation, the principal roles of CPPCC members are not fully brought into play, and weak links for institutional development and implementation still exist. These issues will be earnestly addressed in our future work. Regarding the major tasks in 2026, 2026 marks the beginning of the 15th five-year plan period. The CPPCC will follow the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with China's characteristics for a new era, and gain a deeper understanding of the two establishes and practice two upholds. And we will implement the guiding principles of the 20th CPC National Congress and its plenary sessions, carry out the arrangement of the fourth plenary session, and implement General Secretary Xi's important thinking on strengthening and improving the work of the CPPCC. And we will uphold the system of multi-party cooperation and political consultation under the leadership of the CPC, remain committed to the CPPCC's nature and role, uphold the two major themes of unity and democracy, and focus on the central tasks of the party and the country in fulfilling our duties. We will bring together all political parties and individuals from all ethnic groups and sectors to the CPPCC to pool public support, build consensus, gather wisdom, and harness strength so as to secure a good start to the 15th five-year plan period. We will unswervingly uphold the leadership of the Communist Party of China and maintain the correct political direction. Upholding and strengthening the party's overall leadership is the fundamental guarantee for advancing China's modernization and for the development of the CPPCC. We will ensure that the party's overall leadership runs through the entire process and all aspects of political consultation, democratic oversight, and participation in deliberation of state affairs, and that the two outputs are reflected in concrete actions and tangible results. We will integrate the party's innovative theories into regular study and daily practice so as to strengthen ideological and political guidance and more effectively build broad consensus. Unity in thinking is the foundation for unity in politics and action. The depth of theoretical study determines the level of understanding and the effectiveness of implementation. We will establish and improve the mechanisms that integrate regular study of the party's innovative theories with systematic research and rigorous theoretical interpretation so as to help all political parties, people's organizations, and individuals from all ethnic groups and sectors to consolidate the shared ideological and political foundation for unity and joint endeavor. We will intensify efforts to communicate policies, address concerns, stabilize expectations, and strengthen confidence, promote the main theme of reform and development, and rally positive energy for unity and progress. We will organize activities commemorating the 160th anniversary of the birth of Dr. Sang Yat-sen, and we will also strengthen the CPPCC's friendly exchanges with other countries and better tell China's story, including the story of whole process people's democracy. We will offer policy advices on the 15th five-year plan and serve the central tasks of the party and the country through high-quality performance of our duties. We will effectively carry out the 2026 consultation plan of the CPPCC National Committee, conduct in-depth research and consultation on major tasks and strategic initiatives set forth in the 15th five-year plan, and focus on major theoretical and practical issues related to consolidating the foundations for basically realizing socialist modernization and advancing development across the board. We will carry out thematic research across special committees, sectors, and disciplines, and put forward policy recommendations that are forward-looking, targeted, and practical. We will truthfully reflect social conditions and public opinion on key issues in areas such as economic development, scientific and technological innovation, reform and opening up, social development, and people's well-being. And we will properly position consultative oversight and effectively implement the CPPCC National Committee's democratic oversight work plan for the 15th five-year plan so as to promote the effective implementation of major decisions and plans of the CPC Central Committee. We will also highlight the principal role of CPPCC members and enhance their capacity and effectiveness in performing duties. CPPCC members must cherish their political identity and honor their titles, remain committed to performing their duties and serving the people. They need to study and grasp the party's principles and the policies of the state and strengthen both their political awareness and their ability to perform duties. They must observe the law and abide by the CPPCC charter, cultivate a sound conduct, maintain integrity and self-discipline, and consistently uphold a climate of strict standards and upright conduct. They must also practice a correct view of political achievements and promote regular, long-term improvement in work conduct. Fellow members, let us rally more closely around the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, unite our efforts, and press forward with resolve to advance the high-quality development of the CPPCC on a new journey in a new era, and contribute our wisdom and strength to the building of a modern socialist country on a path of socialism with Chinese characteristics.
A comprehensive and condensed speech from Wang Huning, chairman of the CPPCC National Committee. Let's get more insight from our guests here in the studio, John and Andy. Let me begin by saying that this speech consists primarily of two parts: what the CPPCC has done last year, shortcomings, achievements, and then a look forward into 2026. Professor Gong, let me get your take first on what stood out for you in that speech.
Well, I think he mentioned a lot of statistics, various works that this organization has conducted in the past year. This is not just a organization that gives ideas. It's also a oversight organization. It works with various organizations and ministries to implement things. So I think one thing stands out from my perspective is that Mr. Wang mentioned, among the things he mentioned going to be done for 2026, he said things about, focused on he focused on things that, actionable actions and also generate tangible results. That's what he mentioned, right? So I think these are the, what I've been talking about as a purpose-oriented legislative as well as oversight work as part of China's whole democracy process. I think these are the key points that I took away from this. This is a quite concise speech, actually, even though a lot of statistics are packed into the speech. A lot of things have been done by this organization, and it looks like we had a good year last year, and hopefully we're going to continue this momentum into this year.
Now, before I get Andy's insights on this, let's check in the latest with our reporter, Dai Kai. He's been following the opening plan very closely from the Great Hall of the People. Kai.
That's right, Mao and Zhongshi. CPPCC's annual session has just opened here at the Great Hall of the People. So at the opening ceremony, political advisors reviewed and adopted the agenda for the session. Now, they listened to the Standing Committee's work report as well as a report on how those proposals that's been issued in the past, how they've been handled since the last annual session. Now, Wang Huning, chairman of the CPPCC National Committee, delivered the report. He emphasized that the CPPCC stayed committed to the principle of serving the people and also strengthening the capacity of this top political advisory body for consultation through reform and innovation. Over the past year, he said the advisory body carried out research on major strategic as well as forward-looking issues, aiming to provide a more targeted input for policy making. So there are a number of consultations held on a broad range of issues. They mentioned AI applications, they mentioned elderly care, they also mentioned a number of livelihood issues as well. So 2026 marks the opening chapter of the 15th five-year plan. This is the development blueprint for the country's development and growth over the next 5 years. So the CPPCC said it will focus on proposing deeper and higher quality consultation, offering forward-looking as well as actionable proposals to better support scientific decision-making, as well as offering that the 15th five-year plan is off to a solid start. So today's opening ceremony lays out a key political direction for the days ahead, with the NPC annual session set to convene tomorrow. Back to you, Mao.
Kai, the opening of the annual session of the CPPCC National Committee also marks the official start of China's annual political season this year. What can we expect for tomorrow's events?
That's right. So tomorrow will be the NPC opening ceremony. So we can expect, of course, they will review the government work report. So all eyes will be on how China will set its growth target for 2026. As we heard earlier at the members' corridor, how members expressed their confidence in terms of China's economy over the past year, as well as the year to come. China's GDP has expanded 5% in 2025 year on year, surpassing $20 trillion for the very first time. And just so you know, that's against the backdrop of a very complex geopolitical and global landscape, I should say. So in terms of technology, in terms of livelihood, in terms of diplomacy, there's a lot to look forward to at tomorrow's NPC opening ceremony as well.
All right, we'll certainly keep checking with you on that. Thank you so much, Kai, for that update. Wang Huning, chairman of the CPPCC National Committee, has delivered his work report, highlighting 2025 was crucial in terms of advancing Chinese modernization.
Part 1. Review of our work in 2025. The year 2025 was a crucial year for advancing Chinese modernization. In the face of a complicated international landscape and the challenging domestic task of advancing reform, promoting development, and ensuring stability, the CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, has united the entire party and the Chinese people of all ethnic groups and led them in meeting difficulties head-on and forging ahead with determination. Kept in mind both domestic and international imperatives. As a result, the main economic and social development targets for the year were accomplished. China's economy continued to embrace innovation and excellence despite challenges, achieving new outcomes in fostering new quality productive forces. New strides were made in reform and opening up. People's livelihoods were further safeguarded. Social stability was maintained. The 14th five-year plan was successfully concluded. China's economic strengths, scientific and technological capabilities, and composite national strengths rose to a new height, and solid new strides were made in advancing Chinese modernization. The fourth plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee was successfully convened, drawing a blueprint for development over the next 5 years.
Now let's hear more from our studio guests here. Andy, I want to get your take on this because we understand the CPPCC really built on past achievements and also aims for improvements within the system. For example, prioritizing the quantity of their proposals over quality. The other way around, prioritizing quality over quantity. But despite the fact that they are looking at the quality, we still received almost 6,000 proposals in the past year. Now, how do we make sure that these proposals actually reflect the voices of the people and then they are actually heard by the decision-making system?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, Meng Long. So, what I take away from this is certainly very information dense, a lot of numbers. And what this shows, I think, is seriousness of purpose, right? So there's not a lot of hand waving. They're very specific numbers. And I think what that shows us is that there is a very rigorous, structured system to gather input from a wide range of perspectives, different walks of life. So I think that, to me, was pretty clear. But I think what also struck me was that this really would feel very familiar to successful corporate executives because we heard a lot of numbers in a very progressive, systematic way. The number of proposals received, the number of proposals approved, the number of meetings held, and in particular, the number of theoretical research projects conducted. So we see a step-by-step reporting of the whole process. And what I mean that it would be very familiar to a successful corporate executive. So we think about Ray Kroc, who was the founder of McDonald's. He would say, you not only have to work in the business, you have to make great hamburgers, you have to work on the business, meaning you have to improve the process of making hamburgers as well. And I think we heard that very clearly in some of the statistics of, improving meeting quality, improving meeting efficiency. And this is, I think, speaks to the quality part you're talking about as well. So, to me, this also is very noteworthy as part of China's process. The other thing I would say about this is it's very clear that the Chinese approach to governance is theory, practice, feedback that goes back to modify theory. And I think the Western approach tends to be more theory to theory and maybe not such a direct bureaucratic formal linkage. And I think when we see that connection, that really drives improvement for everyone.
Yeah, well, just to follow up, regarding your question, how these proposals are being implemented and being really completed.
And also, what's the criteria defining a good proposal?
Right, so my understanding is that there's actually a working mechanism between this organization and the relevant government ministries and other commissions to look at these proposals to see whether they can be implemented. And they have to actually report back to the CPPCC about the status of these proposals. So it's actually not just you get a piece of paper and just lock it somewhere and that's the end of the story. No, there's actually a mechanism for accountability in this case. And also, I know there's also a channel between CPPCC and also the MPC that some of the proposals can be made into the legislative process. So I think, as I said, this is part of China's legislative mechanism here, architecture here. The voices from the CPPCC were indeed being treated very seriously, either as part of the administrative menus as well as the legislative venues for things to be really addressed in these proposals.
I do want to follow up on Professor Gong on what the CPPCC members, national political advisors, will do after this, because their work doesn't end with the opening of the session. They will actually be divided into different sectors, different groups, to discuss the proposals, to express their concerns, and then collectively having their wisdom pulled, having their experience pulled. Help us elaborate on that process a little bit for our viewers.
There will be these meetings divided into different groups. Some of them are closed meetings, and there will be, I would imagine, there will be heated deliberations on these. They discuss, they argue, they debate, they may even quarrel. I don't know. But in the end, I think the purpose is to come up with some consensus, some actionable consensus, right? So I think that's the purpose. So we do have a process. Sometimes people in the West say, this is a rubber stamp, stuff like that. No, this is not true. I mean, indeed, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of proposals. I think he mentioned 2,000, right? 2,000 proposals are not just coming from vacuum. I mean, they have coming from different parts of society, from the corporate world, from university community, from research community, from other areas, and these things sort of go down up to the CPPCC to essentially have a process to make sure that these turns out to be good policies, good legislative actions that eventually will be indeed implemented.
And I think a quick addition to that is the selection of people is very, very important. So I mentioned earlier that the Chinese approach is if we want to build a house, we need an electrician. So we look at the CPPCC. You have people with the relevant expertise, first of all. And the selection process, my understanding is it's actually quite rigorous. It's not just the expertise, but you have to demonstrate certain character, certain commitment to the greater public good, not just maybe to your own business or something else. So when you have that expertise, that willingness to contribute and see a larger picture, and as John said, there's also an oversight mechanism to see that when proposals are made, they're tracked through the system. Just like, again, to use a corporate analogy, when there's a customer complaint at a well-run company, it's tracked, when was it received, who handled it, what was the resolution, but also how can we improve the process. So I think we see this happening
One
as well.
thing about the representative composition, very important difference is that don't they have many lawyers in that organization?
Some, but maybe not all.
They have a lot of people with special expertise, as you mentioned. I think that's a huge difference.
Yes.
This is a country driven mostly by people who have their specialized knowledge, decision-making process, not so much by lawyers.
Sure. What's a meritocratic approach?
I don't want to be a lawyer basher, by the way.
All right. Thank you so much for that analysis.
Let's also take a look back at that speech made by Chairman Wang. Wang Huning also says the CPPCC will offer policy advice on the 15th five-year plan.
We will offer policy advices on the 15th five-year plan and serve the central tasks of the party and the country through high-quality performance of our duties. We will effectively carry out the 2026 consultation plan of the CPPCC National Committee, conduct in-depth research and consultation on the major tasks and strategic initiatives set forth in the 15th five-year plan, and focus on major theoretical and practical issues related to consolidating the foundations for basically realizing socialist modernization and advancing development across the board. We will carry out thematic research across special committees, sectors, and disciplines, and put forward policy recommendations that are forward-looking, targeted, and practical. We will truthfully reflect social conditions and public opinion on key issues in areas such as economic development, scientific and technological innovation, reform and opening up, social development, and people's well-being. And we will properly position consultative oversight and effectively implement the CPPCC National Committee's democratic oversight work plan for the 15th five-year plan, so as to promote the effective implementation of major decisions and plans of the CPC Central Committee.
So the main tasks in the new year have been laid out, and CPPCC members will spend the next week deliberating, discussing on key documents from China's annual 2 sessions. So, gentlemen, let me ask you, Professor Gong, what is topping your list of concern as this CPPCC session is kicked off?
Well, I think the usual suspects are things related to innovation, for example, related to high quality development, and also things related to people's livelihood that ordinary citizens are very much concerned about these issues. But nevertheless, I think this year might be a little bit different in the sense that things related to international relations, geopolitics, China's foreign policy, probably are going to be on the top agenda for a lot of people to discuss about this, because indeed we are seeing this rapid development of this world becoming more and more unstable. The so-called rules-based international order just collapsing, and what is China going to do? Are we having a supply, a safe, secure supply of energies? What about China's a vast amount of exports? Are they subject to tampering? These issues, things related to global matters, international issues, are probably going to be widely discussed at this meeting.
And also another key task this year is formulating the 15th five-year plan. In that speech, Chairman Wang summarized the 14th five-year plan as consolidating China's economic strength and boosting sci-tech capacity. Andy, how does the next five-year plan differ from the 14th? And how will China advance Chinese modernization in the next period?
Sure. Well, Zhongshu, I think the 15th five-year plan actually can't be looked at in isolation, because it really is an integral part of the 2035 goal of achieving so-called basic socialist modernization. So I think this puts it in the first half of a 10-year period. And if we look at this formulation of high-quality growth through releasing new productive forces powered by scientific and technological self-reliance. So I think we come back to the importance of technology. Quantum computing we heard about, but I think also addressing some well-recognized bottlenecks or choke points, like certain kinds of semiconductor manufacturing, other types of technological. We can think of them as obstacles, but also opportunities as well, because we've seen, when China decides something is important, its ability to bring the appropriate resources to bear on it is very important. So I think that's maybe the main difference between the 15th and the 14th five-year plan. And I agree with John that the international environment has become much more uncertain. But this also, I think, creates opportunities, as many countries are now seeking safer, more reliable partners. That might be the silver lining here. But the other point, I think China's always focused first on its own development, and not so much what do we do if another country does this, but setting the 2049 objective, the 2035 objective, and orienting around that. So for me, I'm also thinking a lot about dual circulation, right? So it's not just improving manufacturing, distribution, and consumption as this circulation wheel, and then how do you integrate the outside world as well at the same time?
Sure. Let's talk about the new growth drivers for an economy China's size going forward. What do you envision?
I think the challenge is that I view China's economic development at this point as sort of a forked phenomenon here. On one side, we're actually doing very well in cutting-edge technology, in robotics, in AI, in especially, we've seen this on the New Year Gala sponsored by CMG, this wonderful, wonderful robots. I mean, you look at online comments from around the world, people just get amazed about what's the latest development so far. These are great things happening. But on the other hand, we we still have a traditional economy, which is a much, much larger traditional economy, right? Things still related to, real estate property market, things related to, very traditional low-end manufacturing, for example. How do we actually leverage off the developments in the high-tech area to percolate down to impact the traditional industries? I think that's a huge challenge. So I think we see some good numbers in those sort of sexy areas, but on the other hand, we're still seeing challenges in some traditional areas. So I think how to actually pull up the traditional areas, that's a big challenge. So I think that's something the planners, these great representatives, they're going to talk about this, I'm pretty sure, right? I mean, they have a lot of insights into what's happening in their industry, right? And they must have some good ideas about how we should tackle these challenges.
Right. Professor Zhang Gong and Mark, I'd like to thank you for your insights.
In the fourth session of the 14th National People's Congress, China's top legislature kicks off on Thursday, March the 5th. Join us here tomorrow for this special coverage. We leave you now. I'm Zhong Shi in Beijing.
I'm Wang Mengmang. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for The World Today with Jiao Yang coming up next.